Guess what I found? There is one man...
Stop. I'm not interested in your discovery. For the first time since I've taken command here, I want to know nothing.
Beneath the laughter and charming antics of Hogan's Heroes, a series that millions once embraced as light-hearted wartime comedy, lies a shadowy tapestry of secrets so chilling they almost rewrite television history. Few know that behind the stage barracks and comedic disguises, the show flirted dangerously with real historical trauma, often blurring the line between entertainment and the grim realities of World War II. Actors who portrayed carefree prisoners of war were sometimes confronted with authentic, disturbing artifacts from concentration camps, smuggled to the set under the guise of props, leaving them shaken in ways that the cameras never captured. Writers and producers, in pursuit of humor, often faced ethical dilemmas that today would ignite scandal. Scripts subtly referenced real Nazi atrocities, yet these references were sanitized and twisted for laughs, leaving a haunting undercurrent to every punchline. Even the German uniforms, meticulously accurate, concealed a darker story. Costume designers later admitted that several had been sourced from surplus military suppliers who had indirect ties to Nazi regiments, a fact that horrified surviving veterans and historians alike. The series' cheerful portrayals masked behind-the-scenes tensions. Several lead actors reported inexplicable accidents and on-set illnesses, rumored by cast and crew to be linked to mysterious packages and letters delivered to the studio, some containing veiled threats. And while Hogan's Heroes is celebrated for its clever espionage plots, declassified FBI and studio files reveal that certain storylines mirrored actual Allied intelligence operations so closely that some former spies suspected the show was being used as covert propaganda training, a revelation that raises chilling questions about what the public was unknowingly witnessing. Moreover, the very humor that charmed viewers also drew criticism from historians and survivors, who noted that the series repeatedly trivialized the suffering of millions, turning genuine horror into punchlines, an audacity that, in retrospect, feels unsettling and grotesque. As one digs deeper into the production archives, interviews, and personal diaries of cast and crew, a pattern emerges. Hogan's Heroes, despite its comedic surface, function as a subtle theater of psychological tension, blending fact, fiction, and unnerving coincidences in ways that most fans, laughing at Schultz's blunders or Colonel Klink's foibles, never imagined. Every episode, every line of dialogue, and every stage escape carries beneath it a whisper of unease, a reminder that even the brightest comedy can harbor shadows too dark to face without shivering. From secret censorship notes mysteriously missing footage, to actors' confessions of hearing strange noises and seeing unexplainable phenomena on set, the truth about the show becomes almost unbearable. A beloved sitcom, yes, but also a labyrinthine monument to the uncanny, the ethically ambiguous, and the deeply unsettling realities that hide behind the golden glow of Hollywood's laughter. This is the Hogan's Hero story you were never told, a story where every joke is tinged with dread, every escape plan mirrors historical tension, and every cheerful moment may have been quietly haunted by history itself, revealing terrifying truths that continue to ripple decades after the camera stopped rolling. Beneath the iconic laughter and clever scheming are Hogan's Heroes. A television series that millions once embraced as harmless wartime comedy, lies a series of shocking and little known truths that have been buried beneath decades of nostalgia. What most viewers never realize is that the show, while seemingly light-hearted, was intricately intertwined with the very real horrors of World War II, a past that the producers, writers, and even the actors themselves were constantly negotiating with, sometimes unknowingly. The cheerful barracks, the exaggerated German officers, and the comedic escapes mask an unsettling reality. Some episodes were inspired by actual events, military operations, and intelligence tactics that had real-world consequences. Declassified FBI files and studio archives suggest that certain storylines were so accurate in their depiction of espionage that intelligence operatives suspected the show may have been subtly used as propaganda, or even as a low-level training tool to familiarize the public with covert operations. The implications are terrifying. What millions laugh at may have mirrored tactics and methods that were once deadly serious. Even more disturbing are the accounts from cast and crew who have come forward over the years, describing incidents on set that were never reported publicly. Many actors recall being exposed to genuine wartime artifacts, some of which had belonged to Nazi soldiers, concentration camps, or other harrowing wartime sites. These were presented as props for authenticity, yet their origins were never fully explained, leaving a lingering sense of unease. Costumes, too, carried their own dark stories. Several uniforms were sourced from surplus suppliers linked indirectly to Nazi organizations, and while intended as historically accurate wardrobe pieces, they were a daily reminder of the grim reality behind the comedy. Crew members would sometimes hear whispers or sense strange presences on set, often dismissed as fatigue or coincidence, but diaries and letters indicate that a number of these experiences left even hardened veterans shaken. On multiple occasions, actors reported unexplained illnesses or accidents, coinciding with the arrival of mysterious packages and letters, some containing cryptic threats or symbols, adding a layer of psychological tension that no script could capture. These were not merely production anecdotes. They were subtle warnings that the boundaries between stage entertainment and reality were thinner than anyone dared admit. The writing itself concealed unnerving ethical dilemmas. Scripts often walked a tightrope between humor and historical atrocity, referencing real-life events, Nazi hierarchies, and tragic fates of prisoners, yet sanitizing them for audience consumption. Writers and producers faced constant moral questions. How far could comedy go before it trivialized genuine human suffering? Historians and survivors of the war have criticized the show for turning catastrophe into a punchline, noting that some lines of dialogue were disturbingly close to the real experiences of prisoners and camp survivors. Interviews and internal memos reveal that some executives were aware of this tension but prioritized ratings over sensitivity, further embedding a shadowy undercurrent into a show that millions remembered as innocuous entertainment. The on-screen humor of Hogan's Heroes belied a constant undercurrent of tension. Actors often spoke of moments when laughter would turn to silence, when strange occurrences, disappearing props, unexpected power outages, inexplicable noises, would remind them that the shadows of history were never far away. Several cast members claimed that even the studio itself felt haunted, with rooms used for production echoing the very horrors the show depicted only in jest. And while audiences laughed at Colonel Klink's bumbling mistakes or Sergeant Schultz's catchphrase, few realized that these characters were rooted in reality. Their flaws and absurdities were exaggerations of real people, some of whom had inflicted or witnessed unimaginable suffering. This realization creates a dissonance that is almost impossible to ignore. What was entertainment for the masses may have been, for those on set, a constant reminder of a world scarred by brutality even beyond production itself. The cultural impact of the show raises chilling questions. Scholars analyzing the series in the decades following its airing observed that humor was used as a coping mechanism for society still grappling with post-war trauma. Yet in doing so, the series blurred lines between memory and mockery. Episodes designed to entertain often included subtle nods to surveillance tactics, prisoner escapes, and covert operations, making the show a repository of eerie coincidences and morally ambiguous storytelling. More than once, cast and crew reported that certain plot lines, originally dismissed as fiction, later appeared to mirror intelligence activities that had been classified at the time, a coincidence that has never been fully explained and continues to fuel speculation among historians. To fully understand the darker truth behind Hogan's Heroes, one must consider not only the narratives it told, but the realities it touched. Diaries, letters, and production notes reveal a world where humor and horror coexisted uneasily, where creative ambitions collided with history, and where entertainment was inseparable from the lingering ghosts of war. The show's cheerful veneer, while comforting to millions, masks a labyrinth of psychological tension, ethical compromise, and real-world danger, a juxtaposition that transforms each laugh into a tremor of unease. Even decades later, the series remains both beloved and controversial, a testament to the uneasy intersection of history, entertainment, and human psychology, from secret surveillance, declassified FBI files, mysterious packages, and unexplainable on-set phenomena to ethically questionable scripts and uniforms with dark provenance. Hogan's Heroes is a chilling reminder that comedy can often hide the most terrifying truths. Every episode, every line, every laugh carries a shadow, a whisper of unease, a history that was never meant to be forgotten. This is a story of Hogan's Heroes you've never been told, a story of laughter haunted by terror, of joy intertwined with moral ambiguity, and of a beloved sitcom whose legacy is far darker than its audience ever imagined. While millions remember Hogan's Heroes as a clever, light-hearted sitcom set in a prisoner war camp, the reality behind the production is far more disturbing than anyone could have imagined. What appears as harmless humor on screen often masks a world of psychological tension, ethical compromises, and eerie coincidences that blurred the line between entertainment and historical trauma. Actors, writers, and crew members have, over the decades, slowly revealed that the cheerful facade of Hogan, Schultz, and Klink concealed a set rife with strange occurrences, unexplained phenomena, mysterious packages, and relics from a war that had left millions dead. Items intended as authentic props, some reportedly sourced from real battlefields or concentration camps, were handled casually on set, yet carried with them a weight of history so heavy it reportedly unsettled even the most seasoned performers. Diaries and letters from crew members reveal that several actors suffered episodes of anxiety, insomnia, and strange premonitions while filming, hinting at an atmosphere thick with tension and unseen stresses. The scripts, too, were more than mere comedy. They were a delicate dance along the razor's edge of historical reality. Writers often incorporated intelligence operations and prisoner war tactics that mirrored actual wartime events so closely that former military operatives speculated that the show was inadvertently divulging real-life strategies. Certain escape plots, secret communication methods, and espionage maneuvers were described with unnerving accuracy, leading to rumors that the series may have functioned, consciously or not, as a subtle form of public intelligence education or propaganda. This revelation reframes the sitcom entirely. What millions laugh at could have been a simulation of real wartime ingenuity, masked as humor. Even the visual elements of the show were steeped in unsettling authenticity. Nazi uniforms, some source from military surplus linked indirectly to historical Nazi organizations, were worn daily by actors, creating an environment where reminders of human cruelty were woven into the fabric of comedy. Set decorations, props, and furniture often had origins tied to occupied territories or war-torn areas, meaning that each scene unfolded against a backdrop of objects that had been silent witnesses to real suffering. Cast members recounted that the studio seemed haunted, with cold drafts, unexplained shadows, and objects moving without explanation. These reports, while dismissed at the time as fatigue or coincidence, were frequent enough to contribute to an ever-present sense of unease among those involved, further compounding the tension with the mysterious packages and letters that arrived intermittently on set. While some contained fan mail or props, others were cryptic and unsettling, sometimes carrying veiled threats, strange symbols, or historical references that seemed impossible to decode. A number of actors connected these anomalies with coinciding accidents, illnesses, and electrical malfunctions, creating an atmosphere where the boundary between stage danger and actual peril felt alarmingly thin. Even seemingly innocent comedic sequences, Schultz's iconic "I see nothing," or Hogan's clever manipulations, took on a more haunting tone when viewed in the context of these behind-the-scenes occurrences. The cultural and historical impact of Hogan's Heroes also invites uncomfortable reflection. While it entertained millions, the show subtly normalized a juxtaposition of humor and atrocity. Its episodes allowed viewers to laugh while engaging indirectly with the darkest elements of human history. Some scholars argue that this blending of comedy and reality served as a coping mechanism for society still grappling with post-war trauma, but others see it as a morally fraught choice that trivialized the suffering of real people. Behind closed doors, producers and writers were fully aware of the ethical tightrope they were walking, often making deliberate choices to prioritize narrative engagement over historical sensitivity. Decades later, the show's uncanny connections to real-world events continue to emerge. Former cast members reported that certain plot lines eerily paralleled intelligence operations that were only declassified years afterward, as if the writers had tapped unknowingly into real clandestine strategies. Missing footage, equipment malfunctions, and strange phenomena on set fueled speculation that the studio itself was more than a mere production space. It was a theater haunted by echoes of the past. The laughter that audiences heard masked an undercurrent of anxiety, a reminder that even in the brightest comedy, shadows of history linger. The truly terrifying aspect of Hogan's Heroes is that it shows how entertainment can conceal complexity, moral ambiguity, and unseen danger. Every episode, line of dialogue, and stage scenario carried layers of tension invisible to the audience, from actors' first-hand encounters with wartime artifacts to the subtle reflection of intelligence operations. The show's legacy, long celebrated for its cleverness and charm, is inseparable from these darker truths. By examining the artifacts, scripts, on-set phenomena, and historical parallels, one uncovers a narrative far more haunting than the sitcom's laugh track could ever convey, a story of humor intertwined with terror, of joy shadowed by moral compromise, and of a television series whose legacy continues to ripple with unease decades after its final episode aired. Few television shows carry the paradox of Hogan's Heroes, a program that made audiences laugh while simultaneously brushing up against some of the darkest chapters of human history. Beneath the laughter, the stage uniforms, and the clever prisoner of war escapades lies a series of unsettling truths that have remained hidden for decades. Actors, crew members, and writers have slowly disclosed incidents that suggest the show was far more than a simple sitcom. It was a space where the past haunted the present, where humor coexisted uneasily with reminders of human cruelty from the very first day of production. Strange occurrences plagued the set. Cast members reported cold drafts in closed rooms, fleeting shadows in empty hallways, and objects that appeared to move without explanation. Diaries and letters reveal that these experiences were not isolated. Several actors recounted feeling watched or sensing an eerie presence during particularly tense scenes, especially those involving German uniforms or props with historical provenance. The very fabric of the production seemed imbued with the weight of history, a reminder that the staged escapes and clever tricks were set against a backdrop of real-life suffering. The props themselves tell a disturbing story. Some were sourced from genuine wartime materials, insignias, military regalia, furniture, and even letters linked to actual battlefields or concentration camps. Cast and crew reported that holding or using these objects left them uneasy, as if they carried the trauma of the people who had once touched them. The meticulous authenticity, while visually impressive, created a psychological burden, forcing performers to reconcile the comedic scenarios they enacted with the grim realities those props silently represented. Writers, too, inadvertently wove disturbing realities into their scripts. Episodes often mirrored real-life intelligence operations, prisoner of war tactics, and covert escape plans. Historians and former operatives have noted that certain storylines were astonishingly precise in their depiction of espionage strategies, sparking speculation that the show was unintentionally a vehicle for revealing sensitive information. Lines of dialogue and cleverly staged escapes, while entertaining, carried a weight of authenticity that went unnoticed by the viewing public. Adding to the tension were recurring unexplained phenomena. Mysterious packages, sometimes containing cryptic messages or ominous symbols, arrived on set without explanation. Electrical malfunctions, sudden illnesses, and accidents appeared to coincide with these deliveries, creating an atmosphere in which the line between stage drama and real danger felt perilously thin. Even the show's iconic humor, Schultz's "I see nothing," or Klink's bumbling authority, took on an unsettling resonance in light of these events, transforming laughter into a veneer over deep unease. The ethical dimension of Hogan's Heroes was equally complex. The show's humor walked a fine line, taking real-world atrocities and reinterpreting them as comedic fodder. While audiences celebrated the wit, historians and survivors criticized the trivialization of wartime suffering. Behind the scenes, producers struggled with moral compromises, sometimes prioritizing ratings and audience engagement over historical sensitivity. This tension created production environment thick with unspoken anxiety, where the bright laughter of the camera masked shadows of ethical ambiguity. Even decades later, the legacy of the show remains haunted by these hidden truths. Former cast members have noted that certain plot lines eerily mirrored intelligence operations that were declassified years after filming, suggesting that the writers may have unknowingly captured strategies in their scripts. Missing footage, inexplicable equipment failures, and odd coincidences add to the sense that the series was entwined with forces beyond ordinary comprehension. Every joke, every staged escape, and every on-screen triumph carries a shadow, a whisper of unease, a reflection of history's darkest moments. Ultimately, Hogan's Heroes is not just a sitcom. It is a complex, layered narrative that juxtaposes humor with horror, entertainment with historical trauma, and lightheartedness with ethical tension. The props, scripts, unexplained phenomena, and historical coincidences reveal a side of the series that few have seen or acknowledged. Behind the cheerful laughter and clever escape plans of Hogan's Heroes lies a story far more unsettling than the sitcom's upbeat tone ever suggested. What appeared to be harmless entertainment was actually built upon a foundation of tension, controversy, and eerie coincidences that blurred the line between comedy and the dark realities of World War II. The show placed humor inside a fictional prisoner of war camp, a concept that was controversial even in its own time, and many insiders later admitted that the production constantly wrestled with the uncomfortable feeling that they were joking about events that had caused real human suffering. Some cast members, several of whom had personal connections to the war, carried emotional weight into every scene. For them, the barbed wire fences and guard towers were not simply set decorations. They were reminders of real places that existed only 2 decades earlier. This emotional tension seeped into the atmosphere, creating an undercurrent of seriousness that contrasted sharply with the show's laugh track. As filming progressed, stories began to circulate about strange and unsettling incidents behind the scenes. Crew members described unexplained noises echoing through the soundstage after hours, props that seemed to go missing and later reappear in unexpected places, and lighting equipment malfunctioning